So in the House, there is a subcommittee on federal law enforcement. It's a part of the Oversight Committee, and it's one of the many congressional subcommittees you may have never heard of. And as the name suggests, their job is to oversee federal law enforcement. That's what they do. One of the interesting things about the committee is that its Republican members are a murderer's row of sorts, of complete and utter MAGA fanatics. I mean, this must be a committee that Trump's most loyal supporters in Congress are begging for help to get on. Because here's who's on it. There's Arizona Congressman Andy Biggs, who said last year that the #1 job of Congress was to get Trump reelected. There's South Carolina Congresswoman Nancy Mace, who is so enthralled with Trump, she's asked him to build another so-called Alligator Alcatraz immigration prison in her home state. There's Pennsylvania Congressman Scott Perry, who played a key role in Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election results. And there's Colorado Congresswoman Lauren Boebert. And for that one, I'm just going to leave it at that, because you know certainly who she is. Now, as we all know, Republicans control Congress, which means they outnumber Democrats on every committee and on every subcommittee, like this one. So this is not the kind of committee that you would expect to defy the president's wishes. But earlier this evening, that is exactly what happened. It started when the ranking Democrat on that committee, Congresswoman Summerlee, forced committee Republicans to confront their own hypocrisy, which is raging right now, on the issue that has consumed Trump's presidency.
Right now, Speaker Johnson is helping Donald Trump block the release of all the files relating to child sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. If you want to take a stand against child trafficking, let's do it together. Rep. Biggs has said we want to get to the bottom of it. Rep. Mason stated, I believe we need answers on Epstein. Rep. Perry has written to Pam Bondi on Epstein saying the American people deserve answers and justice. Rep. Boebert said we deserve the truth about the Epstein files. So I hope my Republican colleagues will join me in supporting a motion to subpoena the Department of Justice to release the Epstein files.
I hope my Republican colleagues will join me in supporting a motion to subpoena the Department of Justice to release the Epstein files. Couldn't be more clear than that. Now, just a few hours later, most of the Republicans on that subcommittee followed her lead. By a vote of 8-2, the subcommittee voted in favor of subpoenaing the Epstein files. Donald Trump, and by association his little buddy Mike Johnson, definitely don't want Congress to subpoena the Epstein files. But they lost the vote in that MAGA-filled subcommittee 8-2. And then just a few hours later, the full Republican-controlled Oversight Committee agreed to issue the subpoena. Now, in what looks like kind of a bit of an attempt to muddy the waters here, Republicans also agreed to subpoena Bill and Hillary Clinton, obviously, James Comey, Robert Mueller, and every attorney general going back to 2005. I mean, everyone, Loretta Lynch is included on that list, just to tell you something, I guess. But nevertheless, Congress is now using their power to actually get the Epstein files. And that news comes on what was already shaping up to be a pretty bad freaking day for Donald Trump. Because today, the Wall Street Journal confirmed what many of us have honestly long suspected, that Donald Trump's name appears multiple times in the Epstein files, and also that Trump knows it. Here's what the story said, quote, in May, Bondi and her deputy informed the president at a meeting in the White House that his name was in the Epstein files, according to senior administration officials. Now, that reporting, which was quickly matched by the New York Times, suggests that Donald Trump was pretty misleading just 8 days ago when he said this.
The Attorney General briefed you on the DOJ and FBI's review, the findings of that review. The Attorney General briefed you on that.
On what?
On the DOJ and FBI review.
On what subject?
Epstein, on Epstein, of the review of the files. Attorney General Pam Bondi briefed you on that.
Very quick briefing.
Did she tell you, what did she tell you about the review? And specifically, did she tell you at all that your name appeared in the file?
No, she's given us just a very quick briefing.
No. A quick briefing, by the way, could tell you that your name appears many times in the files, for what it's worth. But in response to this new reporting, Trump Communications Director Stephen Chung told NBC News, quote, this is nothing more than a continuation of the fake news stories concocted by the Democrats and the liberal media. I have to say, I've read a lot of Stephen Chung quotes, and it seems like he kind of just like sits at his desk and cuts and pastes a version of that statement in response to every inquiry. It tells you nothing. But that aside, the truth is this new revelation really shouldn't be that surprising. I mean, we have long known that Trump and Epstein were friends for more than 15 years, including much of the time Epstein was involved in sex trafficking underage girls. And for Trump, this reporting is yet another thing he will have to try and explain away. It also helps us understand why the Trump administration has been obsessively and aggressively trying to get out of releasing more Epstein information. They have cited concerns about privacy for Epstein's victims, even as members of Congress have said all that information can and should be redacted while releasing the rest of the files. Of course it should be. House Speaker Mike Johnson has also cited victims' privacy to explain why he is resisting efforts to release the files.
We want maximum transparency. We also understand the other part of that duty is that we have to protect innocent victims, okay?
Now, that's the line you hear with a straight face from Trump and many of his allies. It's not about protecting Trump, everyone. It's about protecting the victims. But that excuse really doesn't hold a lot of water at all. I mean, for starters, one of the things Trump has offered his supporters as a concession is a call to release a much narrower collection of documents from the grand jury investigations of Epstein. Those documents not only have less information than the full Epstein investigation, they're also harder to release. But, and here's the important part, those grand jury documents also include information about Epstein's victims. So releasing them instead of the full files because of concern for the victims makes absolutely no sense. Doesn't make it, their argument makes no sense. In fact, one of the things the Justice Department is required to do in order to release those documents is to notify all the victims who might be impacted by the release. But this week, 2 separate federal judges told Trump's lawyers that the court has not received any letters on behalf of the victims. In other words, basically, despite claiming that they're very concerned about Epstein's victims, the Trump administration does not even appear to have taken the legally required step of reaching out to those victims who could be impacted if these files are released, if the grand jury files are released. And Trump has repeatedly shown us he doesn't care about child sex trafficking victims in general, outside of this. I mean, in April, the Trump administration cut grants that fund court-appointed advocates for abused children. In May, the Trump administration announced it was getting rid of a Justice Department task force that targets human traffickers. And this last week, Trump gutted a State Department office that works to combat human trafficking around the world. In other words, Trump only seems to care about child sex trafficking victims when it helps him keep the Epstein files from coming out. That's pretty much the only time. He's used to offering flimsy excuses for his behavior and getting away with it. That's what he does. But this time, he is facing far more opposition than I think almost anyone would have expected.